Once you launch Dreamweaver on your computer, you'll want to get more familiar with the application. All of the components that make up the Dreamweaver application is referred to as the workspace. Think of the workspace as your working environment. Whenever you set up shop in the real world, you'll have certain items such as a desk, a phone, a printer, a computer, and so forth. How you arrange items is your workspace. Dreamweaver is no different. You'll always have certain elements of the Dreamweaver application visible, but how you configure them is up to you. Now, I'm beginning this video with Dreamweaver already open on my computer, and I'm going to go ahead and close the welcome screen just so I can focus on the main workspace here. Now, first and foremost, I want you to know that Dreamweaver does ship with a variety of different workspaces that you can use right out of the box. So, for example, if I come up here to my application bar, and I go way over here to the right side, we have what's called the workspace switcher. And as you can see, by default right now, I am using the designer workspace. Well, let's take a look at some of the other workspaces that are available. I'm going to click on this drop-down menu, and you'll see that we have a list of workspaces that we can use. So as an example, I'm going to click on the classic workspace. And you're going to notice that Dreamweaver kind of shuffles things around and reorganizes the panels so that it looks a little bit differently. Now, if you've used any of the previous versions of Dreamweaver, this will look a little more familiar to you because this is how those versions were configured. That's why this workspace is called Classic, to help users of older versions of Dreamweaver feel more comfortable. I'm going to go back up here to the workspace switcher, click on the drop-down menu, and I'm going to choose the Coder Plus workspace. As you can see, this is quite a different workspace in which to work inside of Dreamweaver. You'll notice that I have a lot less panels over here on the right-hand side. We've moved some of the panels over here to the left, and my main document window is going to appear right here in the middle. Let's go ahead and click on this one more time, and let's go to, say, the dual screen configuration. And this is showing you yet another type of configuration. And although you can't really see this right now, Dreamweaver has moved some of the panels over to a second monitor on my computer. So again, this is not going to work for everybody, but it's one of the options that's available. I'm going to go ahead and click on this workspace switcher one more time. Let's go back to the designer workspace since that's where we started from. One thing we can do is to customize our workspace. Up here in the upper right corner of our panels over here, we have this little double arrow. And if I click on that button, it's going to collapse these panels to a button view. And what this allows me to do is free up a little bit of screen real estate. And the way that these buttons work is if I click on the button, it's going to open the panel, display the contents. And if I click on the button again, it's going to close the panel. Any one of these options that I choose, I can close by clicking on the button or by clicking on the tab inside of the expanded panel. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up again, and let's just reconfigure a couple of things. So for example, the insert bar. I'm going to go ahead and double click on that to open it up, and maybe I'd like the insert bar to appear over here in the top of my screen. So if I click on this tab and drag out, if I just let go, it's going to float this panel, and I can move it around wherever I want. The downside to a floating panel is that it will cover up your work, and that becomes a little frustrating when you're trying to get work done. But what I want to do here is I'm going to click on this tab one more time, and if I drag up here to the top and just keep moving my cursor, I'll get a blue line. And that's going to indicate that if I let go of my mouse, it's going to dock that panel up there at the top of the interface. So I'm going to go ahead and let go. And you'll notice that the panel is now being displayed in a different configuration. I kind of like this appearance because it gives me quick access to all these different areas up here at the top. In addition, there might be some panels that you're not seeing by default. And if you're going to remember anything about your workspace, it's that any panel inside of Dreamweaver is going to live under the window menu. So if you don't see a particular panel displayed right now, just go to your window menu. And I'm going to come down here and let's just show a different panel here. I'm going to go ahead and show the history panel. And as you can see, the history panel now appears down here to the right. Now I'll just go ahead and double click on that to collapse it. I'll click on the files panel to open it. And I think this is the way that I'd like to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save my workspace. I'm going to save the way that I like to work here. So to do that, as you might expect, we're going to come back up here to the workspace switcher. I'm going to click on that button, and I'm going to choose New Workspace. And I'm going to give this workspace a name. I'm going to give this workspace a name of Video to Brain. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. As you can see, now I have my own custom workspace that I can access anytime I want. Let me show you how this works. If I were to click on the workspace switcher button and come down to designer, which is what we started with, you can see that we now are back to the way that we started to work. But if I were to use the configuration that I've created and set up in a custom way, I just come back to the workspace switcher and choose the video to brain workspace that I created. And when I choose it, all the panels get set back to the way I like to work. It won't happen overnight, but after you work in Dreamweaver for a little while, you'll become more familiar with the different areas of the application, and before you know it, working in Dreamweaver CS6 will become second nature.